In the old days when I used to get recipe requests, I used to notice, and I'm talking the old days, 100 years ago, they always seem to involve chocolate in one form or other. But I have noticed recent times, particularly with this delightful YouTube channel, is there seem to be more requests for vegetarian or even vegan. So I'm not doing a vegan one, sort of, I don't know. I'm not really good at that, I'm not quite sure. But I'm certainly doing a vegetarian dish. And I'm quite happy doing vegetarian dishes because I love vegetables, but they have to have guts and flavour. I hate it when you have some vegetables and they say, oh, well, it's good for you, and there's no flavour to it. I can see no point in that. So what I'm doing is making a pumpkin, chickpea and salted cashew curry. So we start off with the usual subjects with some aromatics, which is 1 large onion which I've chopped fairly finely. Now I noticed in a recipe the other day for a curry, now I didn't follow it, of course, you know me, but the idea was good, that they actually put the onion and the garlic and the ginger and all those lovely things through the food processor, so they had a puree. Now, I don't know why, and I'm not doing it, but it seemed quite interesting because it sort of would then become more part of the sauce. Anyway, as I said, I'm not doing it, so I don't know why I mentioned it. 1 onion, 2 cloves of garlic, nice plump cloves of course, bit of ginger, I've just cut that in the julienne, 1 stalk of lemongrass. You take off the outer leaves, the damaged ones, and the other thing that you do is you take the end off, because that's a bit woody, and you give it a real whack to break up that woody part. And if you find that you've still got a bit of wood in the centre, which I haven't, if you find that, you can pull it out. So let's slice it really finely. There's nothing worse than big chunks of lemongrass. Not too much of it either, that'll be enough. And what I've also got there is 1, would you call that a cube? I suppose you would, wouldn't you? Of palm sugar. You don't have to break that up too much because it'll melt in the sauce. And just keep an eye on your onions and your garlic and things like that. I don't mind a little bit of colour, but I certainly don't want it burnt. And that goes in as well. And we just saute that until it's reasonably tender. As I said, I don't mind a little bit of a colour because it's quite nice. And to that we then add some curry paste. Now, I'm doing a sort of a Thai version here, but you could, if you wanted to, you could use Indian curry paste. A couple of good tablespoons of that. I find with curry paste it sort of differs a bit, doesn't it? Sometimes it's super hot, sometimes it's not. But the one thing that you do have to do is toast it a bit. So you mix it in your onion and just to release the aromas. Like whenever you do curry spices, you always toast them a bit just to release the aromas. And to that I will then add about 1 kilo of pumpkin. And we also just mix that up because we want to coat that a bit with that curry paste too. There you are, that's all you need there. And then we're going to add some coconut cream, about 2 cups. And to that I'm also going to add, now my wife Ruth has become very keen on making the most beautiful vegetable stock. Which what she does is she keeps all the scraps of the vegetables and she makes stock out of them, which is pretty simple stuff, and it really is, but it's beautiful. And the thing about it is I love, it changes depending on, obviously, what she makes the scraps of. But, you know, she'll use something like some shiitake mushroom offcuts or, you know, all those root vegetables and things, and she makes beautiful veggie stock, just covers it in water, simmers it very gently, but she makes sure that she has lots of different things in them. Greens as well as root vegetables. To that I'm then going to add a tablespoon or 2 of soy and a tablespoon or 2 of fish sauce. A few curry leaves. Now once again, Ruth gets curry leaves and she puts them in the freezer. So they've just come out of the freezer, which is a lovely idea. Really is, because you always got them there. 1 or 2 limes depending on how juicy they are. And what we will do is then we will cook it down. Now, I'm not going to put any salt or pepper. And the reason I'm not putting the salt is obviously because fish sauce always has a salt content. And the other thing is I'm not putting the pepper because I've put the curry paste. Right, we will cook this down until that pumpkin is really nice and tender. And then we will just finish it off. All right, this is looking pretty good. Now, please don't overcook that pumpkin. It's not supposed to be mushy. See, that's good because I'm adding a couple of things now. First of all, I'm adding the chickpeas, Now it's just 1 can of chickpeas, which I have drained and rinsed them. And I'm also going to add some salted cashews. Now I know it sounds weird to add salted cashews because most of them say, oh, just raw cashews. I actually like the idea of putting some salt into it through the cashews. So I've given up raw and I've added those. And we'll just have a taste of the sauce to make sure that I don't need 4,000 other ingredients. That is bloody good. Oh, that's nice. Just chop up some coriander. I've sliced up some long chilli there, but I'm just going to chop some coriander too. Keep it pretty coarse. Doesn't matter about the stalks, you know. The Thais use everything. I don't know. I'm not saying this is particularly Thai, but the Thais do use everything. The coriander, they use the roots, the whole lot. Now, very interesting. I saw Rick Bayless on television the other day, who is the real expert on Mexican food, and he was telling me personally, he was telling us all that you take the stalks out of the chili if you want to get some of the heat out of it. It's actually not the seeds. You know, I've always said to you to take the seeds out if you don't want it too hot. Well, according to Rick, it's actually the stalks that are the hot part, so you take those out. I haven't taken either, but I'm just passing it on for what it's worth. Was that worth much? Yeah, of course it was. All right, to go with this, nice Singer beer, which is the Thai beer. Throw that coriander in. Always remember to wash your coriander really well. Like many herbs, it's growing basically in sand. Did I ever tell you the story about a wonderful DJ called Peter Sinclair? He was a New Zealand DJ, very famous. Anyway, he was also a very keen cook, and he, for quite a while, did a cooking show or cooking column, and he talked about his auntie who made the best tohoros fritters. Now, tohoros we can't get anymore because they've been fished out, but they were a beautiful, I think a member of the Pippi family, but I'm not absolutely certain. And they were growing in sand, so the hardest thing was to get rid of the sandy part of it. Anyway, his auntie used to make the most beautiful tohoro fritters, remembering they're grown in sand, and she wouldn't tell them the secret. But when she was dying, she told Peter the secret, and the secret was, she made the fritters, fine. The sauce had a ton of brandy in it. She said lots of brandy, and she said the true secret is a little smidgen of sand to show you what she was making. You obviously had to be there, but I thought it was quite funny, mainly because having eaten tara fritters and soup and things over the years, they always tasted of sand. All right, so some of these sliced chilies with or without the stalks or seeds, and the beer. Nice Singer, which is the Thai beer. And guys, we're in business. Vegetarian, tasty, lots of flavour, and no sand.